Hey Matt, what's going on? Rob Cesternino here with the sociopath. Matt,
Thanks, Savannah.
what's up with that?
You tell me. I don't know where she gets. I was a stockbroker. I must be a sociopath. I don't know. I don't get the connection. But yeah, after watching last night's episode, I kind of thought maybe I should have just told him I'm a day laborer and I don't have any type of past. Yeah, I thought. Hmm, I'm playing Survivor. Of course, they're going to use whatever information they
Yeah.
have to direct the game that where they want it to go. So yeah, she used that as a he's smarter than he's leading on. We gotta look out for that guy.
Okay, so you lived through that in the real time, and then you watched the episode last night. In your replaying of how everything went, did you consider that to be a pivotal moment when you were out there?
No, I don't. I really don't feel like I really screwed up by letting them know I worked in finance. I think at that point in the game, we were 3 or 4 hours from going to tribal, and I had already picked the wrong colored buff. I was already in a tight spot in a bad situation. They may have used it as part of their decision over keeping Jason or myself, but I really think uh, it was irrelevant to the decision they made. What really carried the most weight was getting back to Nate, that I was targeting him, that I had a plan. Jason was like, "I'll work with you guys. I'll work with. I'm here. I'm a number." And so I think Nate kind of spearheaded the campaign against, hey, that guy is throwing out my name. That guy is the one that needs to go.
So you feel like that even if prior to that moment you answered that question and you told them that you were working in feeding the homeless prior to working at the airport, even if you had the perfect answer, you were still going to be the person to go home.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think I think I put my trust in Jawan and Sophie, and they went back and basically told Nate, "Hey, this guy's plan is we all write down your name." And I think when Nate decided, uh, well, we got two Hinas, and it just makes the most sense to get rid of one of them. And that just gave him everything he needed. He didn't care if I was a stockbroker, if I was Mother Teresa. I
Yeah.
was saying his name, and he was campaigning that Matt is the one to go from that point forward.
Okay, well, let's get into that a little bit more. First, how did you ID that Nate was the person who was the big cheese at the old Uli tribe?
Assumptions. It's a tough game. I would have loved to have worked with Nate. I think it would have been a fantastic dynamic if Nate and Annie and I could have come together somehow. And you had the old people working together. But all I had to go on was watching these people at the immunity challenges, and then the information that Jawan was feeding me. And Jawan's story was, "Hey, I'm on the bottom. I want to mix things up. I want to do something." And I thought, well, Jawan, if you're on the bottom, I'm taking making an assumption here that Nate's kind of in charge of this tribe. The move is for you to cut the head off the snake, so to speak. You
Don't
take
talk about
the
snakes.
snakes. But that was my pitch to Jawan.
Yeah.
This is going to be your big move. This is going to put you on the map. This is you getting out from the bottom of you put yourself on top if you take out the perceived leader of the tribe.
Right. And so you pitch him about the section, and he seems to eat it up in the real time. When you were out there, could you tell that Jawan had gone back and blown up this plan?
No, they did a good job of smoke screening me. One thing you didn't see was Juan and Jake and I went on that journey,
Yeah.
and we had some time together to talk, and we basically made an alliance. Jake, Juan, and I, and so I had some history with Juan, and he wanted to work together, and I kind of thought, there's a chance, what you saw on what made the edit wasn't the full story of Juan and I's relationship. We went fishing together that day for a couple of hours. We were out on the boat, we were talking, we were working things out. I really thought there's a chance. And granted, there's a slim chance. I'm looking at it thinking, well, it wouldn't make sense, Juan. It's too early in the game. You're sitting in a great spot. Why would you blow that up? But it was my one path forward. I thought, oh, should I make a fake idol? Should I get everyone to write down Jason's name? What options do I have? And I thought, it doesn't sound like it's going to work, but my back's against a wall, and if it does work, it'll be freaking cool. It'll be awesome. Right. If we can get it to happen. And so I kind of thought, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, and we're going to see what's going to happen. Even though I don't feel like there's a great chance of Juan pulling this off and working with me, it's one thing that it's a direction I can go in.
Yeah.
And it's something.
Well, to respond to that, I hope that people are giving you your flowers today, because you did take a big swing and you got dealt a bad hand, and you didn't just roll over and die, and you tried to, give us a big move. And so for that, we say thank you.
No, well, I was out there. I went out there to play, and being on the winning tribe the entire time I was there, you didn't see a lot. They were focusing on the people that had tribal council that night, and so I kind of was overshadowed by the rest of the game. But I was playing. I built an alliance with Steven. We did the Jake, Juan, and myself at the journey, and a lot of this stuff never made it. So you never saw that I really was trying. But when you're not going to tribal, there's that whole side of the game that doesn't need to be played. And so I went home too early to actually get down and dirty with the strategy and the relationships.
Okay, well, Matt, could you expand a little bit more about what was going on Old School Hina? Because we really don't know. We saw a little bit of that you were working with Steven and Christina and maybe looking to bring in MC as the 4. Was that the intended core 4 over at Hina?
Yeah, well, initially, day one when we landed, Christina and Steven pulled me aside, and we started that 3. And I, right out of the gate, the very first thing I said is, I want MC in. I want to work with MC. We just done the marooning challenge, and she was absolutely phenomenal and awesome. And I thought, this is somebody who's gonna make a massive contribution to whoever she's working with, and I want her to be working with me. And even though I immediately approached her, like 30 seconds later, it was already, well, there's 3 of you, and now you're coming to me. And so I can see her thought process, and like, wait a minute, and so that could have worked better if we all 4 of us talked initially together. Mm-hmm. But it was kumbaya on our beach. All we did was win, and it was fun. It was more like we were hanging out camping than playing Survivor.
So we saw in the entrances to the challenges, there did seem to be that sort of like Hina camaraderie and, this team spirit that was there. So that really was a good reflection of what it was like, that the game wasn't really going on in terms of one person really being on the outs.
Yeah, that was, I'll credit Christina with that. She was our cheerleader, and she came up with the Hina, and all that. But
how'd she come up with that?
that was Christina.
No, yeah, I got it.
um, but I think initially when we first got there, I think if we had gone to tribal council day one or the first immunity challenge, I think it would have been Jason was on the outs right out of the gate. But after a couple of days, it's like, how can you not like Jason? Well, first off, he's the puzzle god, and he's just the
Puzz
coolest
God.
guy you will ever know. Um, you, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened had we gone to tribal. I feel like I was safe. I feel like keeping the tribe strong, and I was the guy that's catching all the crabs and the snails and the fish and making the fire and doing things around camp. And I was rock solid with Steven. And I think I think if we had gone, it wouldn't have been me. I wasn't worried if we had gone to tribal as the original Hina 6.
Matt, was anybody talking about a potential challenge throw, or was it something that had crossed your mind? Because if Hina was so good and so solid, they could have just thrown the challenge and kept you and Jason safe.
No, MC and Sophie said, oh, "There's no way. I'm never going to throw a challenge." But yeah, all these coulda, woulda, shoulda things. Yeah, it would have been a brilliant piece of gameplay if we they look and say, "Hey, you know what? All we got to do is lose, and we can take out an Uli." But I don't know if it's just weren't thinking that far ahead or weren't connecting all the dots. And it's hard to throw a challenge. It's hard to
Yeah.
say.
And you don't think anybody on the new Hina was thinking that way? You don't think anybody was trying to lose the challenge to vote out you or Jason, right?
I don't think so. We were leaving it all out there. If you were gonna look at the challenge and say, well, somebody was throwing, you'd probably point the finger at me. I'm the guy who fell off that balance beam 3 times, and it wasn't hard. I think just the adrenaline and I put myself in that position knowing if we lose this, I'm in trouble. I want to be on this, so I make sure we don't have somebody in there that's throwing it well, I didn't think throwing it at the time, but screwing it up.
Yeah.
And then I ended up being the guy who screwed it up. So that's on me.
Okay. Well, Matt, I have an opportunity for you that I'm going to give you some space today to apologize to Sandra Diaz Twine.
You are the queen, Sandra. you you your strategy worked for you twice. I never thought in a million years I'd go out there and say anybody but me. But at some point, that's all you got, and she was able to make it work over and over and over again. Here I am. I'm not on the island. Obviously, I don't have the skill set to pull that strategy off. But I going into the game, I thought that's not a strategy. Why would you ever go in and say that? Why would those words come out of your mouth? And then there I am on the island. Hey, that's what I got for you. Anybody but me. And so, sorry,
Yeah.
Sandra.
Okay, listen, you don't want to be on our bad side. That's all I'm going to say, Matt. But just a final thought, just in hindsight, do you feel like do you wish you would have gone harder of throwing Jason under the bus, or that's just not something that you were going to be capable of?
No, at that point, I was a massive fan of Jason. He's
Yeah.
the coolest guy ever. And you saw him there. Hey, Matt, we're both living under a bus, and he kind of knew it was one of us. Just that at that point in the game, that was the move, and it would have been crazy if anything other than that happened. And I wasn't going to play my shot in the dark. I wasn't going to pitch a case against Jason. I thought this let's write Nate's name down approach. It's my one path. I'm going full bore. The probabilities are not in my favor. This is an absolute long shot, but if it happens, it's going to be really, really cool. And it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's part of the game. You got to get lucky a couple of times to win Survivor, and the just didn't work out for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, Matt, thank you so much. All the best to you outside the show, and have a good one. Okay.
Yeah, I'll see you in San Francisco in November.
Okay. All right,
All
Matt.
right.
See you there. Bye.
All right, take care.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.